This episode is brought to you by Sterling Financial Management. If you've left teaching to start your own business, whether it's tutoring, coaching, consulting, or something creative, we're here to help you grow it with confidence. From bookkeeping and tax returns to full financial strategy and virtual finance office support. We help service-based business owners get clear on their numbers and plan for profit. No jargon, no judgment, just smart financial guidance from a team that really gets it. Find out more at sterling-financialmanagement.co.uk. Download some of our helpful guides for starting out and take the stress out of your business finances.
Welcome to Leave Teaching and, the podcast that's all about transformation and new beginnings, with Ruth LaQuee, Lindsay Fekete and myself, Carrie-Anne Booth. If you're a teacher or educator who's had enough of the classroom grind and are ready to discover a whole new way to earn, live with freedom and enjoy an excellent quality of life, you're in the right place. Throughout this series, we'll be discussing a range of topics aimed at helping you leave teaching and start a business, inspiring you with real life stories, strategies and guidance. Hi, welcome back to the Leave Teaching and podcast. I'm Carrie-Anne, one of your co-hosts. I'm joined with Ruth and Lindsay, and today we're talking about what's either going to be the scariest or most exciting part of your business journey. We've talked a lot about the why we left teaching, why we started a business, but now we're going to start delving into the how do you actually start a business. You've got loads of ideas, but you might not know where to start. So we're all going to tell you how we started and the little tips and tricks that we did. And we'll start with Ruth. So Ruth, how did you start your business?
So I'm a very pragmatic person, so I like things to be done and I like to follow things through and check things right. And essentially that's what I did. So if I wanted to do anything or to learn anything at all, what's the first thing I would do? I'm going to do some research. So for me, it was doing some research into how do I start a business? Like, it really was as simple as that, because it's one thing to have this amazing idea, but actually there's all the legal stuff and the financials, and that stuff is the stuff that scares me. I'm great with like the creativity and we could do this in 1,000,001 ideas. And so it was speaking to people. That was one of the first things that I did. So a few people that I knew that already had their own businesses, a few people that had quite small businesses. There was a couple of people that had larger businesses, even like people like my hairdresser. She runs a business, so I didn't want to go into hairdressing, but anybody that I knew could perhaps offer me some insight into their world of business. I spoke to, I asked questions. How does it work? How do you do this? What did you find? And I genuinely believe that there's no such thing as a silly question. And actually, if we don't ask, we're never going to learn. And that's what I teach my kids. And I took that on myself as well. So the first thing that I definitely did was just speak to people within my own network of family and friends. The next thing that I then did was to look for some courses. So at the time when I started my business, I was about 28 or 29, something like that. 28, maybe 29, I don't know, something like that anyway. And the Prince's Trust, you had to be up to 30. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be a geriatric member or whatever. Everyone else will be like 18, but I don't care. This is another thing. Like, I do not care. If that is going to give me access to things that might help me, then I'm all for going there, rocking down, hanging out with the 18-year-olds. So I applied for the Prince's Trust. I got on. It was actually COVID at the time when I went through all this, so everything was virtual. But it supported me. So I got a mentor for free initially, and that Andy, my mentor, was amazing for just getting things going. He has no understanding of like my background or my business as such. His background is completely different, in a completely different industry, and he worked in a business rather than having his own business. But the skills he has in that business could teach me how to run my business. Like, he was really, really good at what he did. So he was like my first mentor. And again, I would ask questions. I'd be like, oh, Andy, I used him. Like, I didn't use him, but like I wasn't afraid to ask him questions or to ask for help. Or if I don't ask him, then nothing's going to happen. So I got a mentor through the Prince's Trust. And there were like a few courses that I could do as well. Things like a business plan. I had a template for that I filled in. It made me accountable. So I had to show like a financial forecast of how I was actually going to make this money. So it wasn't just a stab in the dark, but I followed the steps. I had my business plan. I had all of that there on paper. It was lovely. It made me do things like market research. So again, it pushed me out of my comfort zone to be like, get this done, because Andy would be like, have you done your market research? Do people actually want this? And I'd be like, well, I don't know, I think they do. So I did that. Like, I'd set up a Survey Monkey, I sent it out to people, and all of that put me in, I believe, the best place for when I actually launched. And I just went and seeked that out myself. Now, you might be listening to this thinking, oh, okay, I'm not 28, 29 anymore. I'm 34 or I'm 57 or whatever age you are. But there will still be things available for you. So even now, at the stage that I'm at within my business, I've separated it into 3 now. So I've got My Mummy Teacher, I've got MMT Play, and then we've got Beyond the Classroom Club. Each one of them is at a different point. They've been established for a different time. So within my local council, I can apply for different courses to access. I can apply for different grants, for different funding, for the different points where they're at. And that's one thing that I do. So with my local council, I make sure that I'm on the newsletters. They'll have things like Starting to Grow schemes. I've had mentors throughout times through them as well. And it's just get in touch with them, because there are definitely things there. I went to an in-person event the first time I got in touch with them, and it was like, whoa, like they were excited to see me, because they were like, you could do this, you could do that, they have all these things there that you can access that you just won't know about. So that's a really, really good avenue to go down. So 100% for me, in terms of physically starting my business, it was speak to other people, just have casual conversations, do a bit of research. I found a course that I could apply for, that I did. Even now, I will apply and access any type of support, grants, funding. I've had some recently for some marketing in my business that exists. You just have to go and look for it. And then I've also had paid mentorship, where I paid for mentors when I wanted to then get to the point where actually there's this thing specifically that I want, or I want to learn. For, like I said with Andy, his background is completely different. Actually, I want to learn from people that are in my niche, that have walked the path that I want to walk, that are just a little bit further ahead of me. And again, I learned an incredible amount through that, through going on retreats and all those sorts of things. The other thing that I would say, for me, I almost started my business before I realised I was starting my business. So, like, if you've listened to the previous ones, you will know I resigned because I wanted to spend more time with my little boy, who was 6 months old, and I couldn't go back full time. I set up an Instagram page. I was like, I'm going to share some play ideas. It's COVID, people are at home. But what I didn't realise I was actually doing was building a personal brand, was building a presence online, was building an audience, was nurturing an audience, so that then when I did launch a business, when I suddenly thought, oh, I could turn this into something, I had a sitting audience and customer base. And my first ever launch was like amazing. I was like, this is the best thing I've ever done in my life. I earned over like £4,000 from my first launch. And to me, I was like, oh my gosh, like, how did I do this? So when we were saying previously about service-based business and products, if I was doing a service-based business, I would have had to do time for money, and obviously I put the time in to make the products. But then after that initial launch, they become evergreen, and they sell on repeat and stuff. But doing the courses taught me how to essentially do all of those things and have that confidence there. So starting your business, get online, make an Instagram account, make a Facebook account. If you've got nothing to sell yet, but you've just got a passion, or you've just got, if it's, you want to bake cakes, or you want to teach people to swim, or whatever it is, just build an online presence, do your research, find your mentor, invest in courses behind the scenes, and then you will be perfectly placed to launch your business. That would be my advice.
That's the podcast over. Ruth has told you everything you need to know. No, I'm only joking. But Ruth, honestly, that was so like comprehensive. Like you've got little bits of everything that I wanted to say in there as well. And I think you're absolutely right. I think there might be some teachers sat there now thinking about, I don't know, starting tutoring, starting a science business, starting a physical product. But I think you're right. I think the audience building is so slow, and so it's the long game. I think everybody listening, you know, you might go on our social media pages now, and I'll just take one of mine for instance. So like the Science Booth has got like, I don't know, 9,000 followers on TikTok, 6,000 followers on Facebook, and you might look at that and think, well, of course she's earning money, she's got thousands of followers. But we all started at zero, and the Science Booth is 8 years old. I was growing that well before I knew that was going to be my main source of income. And then if we look at the STEAM Educator Staff Room, I started that as a community, and it didn't make me any money for like over a year because that was never the intention of it. But now it is making me money. You know, my conference has gone from being 14 people in a room to next year we've got 100 people plus in a room, and thousands of pounds worth of sponsorship. And that's all because I grew that audience. We had that community. So even if you're not sure what it is you're going to be selling, start building that audience straight away, and start your email list straight away. Start gathering people's email lists, email addresses, because you need those customers. If you've got something wonderful to sell, that's amazing. But unless you've got someone to sell it to, you're going to struggle. So I 100% agree with that. And the other thing that I'm going to like link to Lindsay within a minute is we'll all speak about different mentors we've had. And, you know, Ruth had the Prince's Trust, and that was amazing. But I think mentorship's really important. Lindsay, when did you have a mentor? Like at what point, you know, did you start paying for things? Because you're huge on money mindset, and you've had a lot of changes there. So at what point did you start paying money for people to help you? And did it help? Did it have a big impact on your business?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I didn't realize how early it was, but I started paying really early in my journey, actually. And I'm just in awe of Ruth's big explanation, because mine was not that organized at all. It wasn't that planned, it wasn't that systematic. It basically just evolved as like the learning and the research side of it, absolutely. And I don't know whether that's because we're teachers and we're always like lifelong learners, or whether everyone does that. I don't know like what the correlation is, but I did lots and lots of research, and but yeah, like finding funding and grants and business plans, none of that. I didn't do any of it. I literally found out what worked and did it, and then found out what didn't work and didn't, and then I just like, I was much more ad hoc and messy than Ruth. But I paid for support really early on. I realized I did lots of reading as well. I sort of read business books. I joined Facebook groups. I like was absorbing what was going on. I didn't really know anyone else that was in business. I suppose in hindsight, there were like loads of small businesses around me, but nobody close enough that I could ask. So I think what I did as I was growing like my online audience, I tapped into my network of people that I already knew. And teaching, I was teaching for 21 years. So I had a group of people. I had a whole group of people in teaching, and parents, friends of my own children, local community of, I was a teacher in my local school for a while. So I had like pockets of people that I could sort of go to and say, I've started tutoring. I started tutoring. I started tutoring. And I basically told everybody that I could tell that I was doing it. And then I started going online and like joining networking groups. So I paid for things like that really early on. I paid for like online networking groups, business groups. I tried a few different places and sort of felt like, do I like this? Do I not like this? Is this what I'm looking for? And I paid for money mindset, a money mindset coach, like in a program, in a group program.
like really early. I'd have to go back and see when it was, but it was really early because I realized that actually a lot of my mindset around earning money in my business at the beginning felt very scarce. Like I felt really anxious and worried that I wasn't going to make enough money to pay the bills. And I was trying to unpick like that anxiety. I didn't want to feel anxious. I'd left teaching because I'd burnt out because I was anxious and worried. So I wanted to make sure I didn't go down that route again with my business. So I realized that actually I needed to work on my money mindset and that worry of the money will come, the money is out there. I haven't got to sort of like hold on to every penny. I can spend money. So if I remember like having a Facebook Messenger sort of back and forth with the lady that I brought the program. And I was like, this is the most random thing I've ever spent money on, because like Ruth, I'm really pragmatic, and it's like I can buy this because I know what I'm getting. I'm getting this and I got the results, or I've got the like the product. But actually to pay money to help me make more money, I was like, I don't get this. Like what? How is this going to work? Like I don't understand it. And I it was a real leap of faith for me. And it felt a bit too good to be true. It felt like I didn't understand how it would work. And then like that first program just changed everything. And I then realized actually if I want to move forward, I'm going to have to spend money on my business and me and my development. And so then whenever I needed support with anything, I found someone that I liked, that I felt sort of a connection with, that I felt like I could trust, and you know, they were in line with what I wanted for my business. And yeah, I've bought loads of things. I've spent thousands and thousands of pounds on different things since I started my business: courses, programs, coaching, masterminds. But everything, I've got the money back through my business from doing it.
Yeah, it's definitely a return on investment, isn't it? And I think if you don't invest in yourself and you don't invest in getting those skills, like how are you ever expecting to move forward? And I mean, there'll be people here listening that don't have that money for investment. So do what Lindsay said, you know, start small, listen to all the podcasts, read all the books. Like that's all free. You can go to your library and get the books. You can download them online. You can watch the TEDx talks. Like start little, start absorbing all that information and motivation and doing that. And then when you've got a little bit of money, like, you know, you might have a little pot, create a pot for CPD, for personal development. Like it's really, really important. And as soon as you've got a little bit of money, like look at what you're struggling with, look at what you need to improve on, and then start investing that money. I can tell you now, that first course that I bought, if I hadn't have bought it, I don't think I'd have left teaching. I certainly would have left teaching as quickly. Lindsay can vouch for this. She was sat there with me. I bought a course. One of the bonuses of buying the course was to have a meal at the Shard. And I was like, ooh, how fancy am I? And I was sat in the Shard with all these business women thinking, yes, I've made it. When in reality, I hadn't even handed my notice in. And I was sat there and someone said to me, why are you still teaching? And I was like, oh, and I've probably talked about this on a previous podcast, but I'm so grateful that if I hadn't have bought that course, I wouldn't have had that moment and I wouldn't have had the courage to do what I did. I mean, you can get on Google, you can Google how to write a business plan, you can Google how to find an accountant, but what you can't ever Google is your community, your people, and the courage to do those things. And when you find your people and your community and those role models, that's when things start happening. And yeah, you can find a little bit of that for free, but you're going to have to invest some money at some point. And I think that, you know, Ruth, Lindsay and I, as Leave Teaching, and we're hoping that we're going to be those role models for you as well. We're here to help you. We want to see you succeed. We say it probably every podcast. We are just like you. We were stuck in the classroom. We were stuck in a job that made us ill, that we didn't enjoy, that we couldn't see through to retirement. And we just want as many of you listening to be able to do that as well. So I think for me, when I was leaving school and starting a business, I'd already started the business, so I wasn't starting from scratch. And I think I'm definitely leaning more towards Lindsay's messy, imperfect, just get it done, see what happens sort of action, rather than Ruth's sort of plan it out. But that's okay, because we're all different and we're all going to approach things in different ways. And some of you will need a lovely written out plan before you even think about launching a Facebook page or a website. But some of you will just go out there, start messy, see what happens, and run with it. But I think my biggest fear was judgment, was people, and probably those people closest to me, going, who does she think she is, starting a business? She's a teacher. What is she doing? And that was it. It was the fear and the judgment of those closest to me, and people going, oh, why is she leaving teaching? But then you very quickly have to just, excuse my language, not give a shit about what people think, unless those people are those business experts who are going to help move your business forward. I don't really care what Sandra down the street thinks, because, you know, she's doing her job, she's raising her kids and doing her thing. She's not a business expert. She doesn't know what the science booth is. She doesn't know what an impact it's going to have on children and franchisees and you know, the future business. So I think you've just got to get over that and have a bit of a, not a hard exterior, but have just a bit of a shield up that actually doesn't really matter what those people think, because they're not investing in your business, they're not paying your wages. And I think another big thing is as well is getting serious about your business and being able to talk about it in personal spaces. Like Lindsay said, she was telling people, I'm a tutor now, I do this. And I know how awkward she felt at the beginning. And now on my Facebook page, I talk about my business all the time. And there's people who I went to school with who will get in touch with me. I've not seen them for 20 years. And they're like, oh, can I book a birthday party? I'm like, oh my God. She was like the popular one at school. And it's just like thinking, you know, get serious about your business. You're not, you know, at first you'll feel like you're playing. You'll feel like you're a teacher playing at being a business person. But the sooner you get serious about it, and the sooner you even fake it till you make it, like have that confidence to talk about it as a business owner, you'll see that more people start taking you seriously and more people start recommending you. Somebody wants a science party, who do they think of? Carrie-Anne Booth. Somebody wants to start their own science business, who do they go and talk to? Oh, Carrie-Anne over at the STEAM Educator staff room, because I talk about my business all the time. I live it and breathe it, and it's my passion. And the more people that know about that, whether it is Sandra down the road or some millionaire that I've met once, the more people who know I'm the STEAM Educator expert, the more people start coming back to me. And you've just got to have that confidence and courage, and having the right network, having the right people around you is one surefire way to do that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you've said. And I think another thing that's really important to just put in when we're talking about the first steps to building your business is, do not be afraid to reinvent your business as many times as you need to get it right. So my business, when I first started under My Mummy Teacher, looks very different to what it does now. I've still got My Mummy Teacher, but I've got MMT Play as well. And then I'm having my third business with Beyond the Classroom Club. I've essentially reinvented myself 3 times. I've been on a journey, and what I offer's changed, or, you know, we switched from products to digital. We're selling in different places. We've changed our wholesale strategy, constantly reinventing, changing to get it right. So it does not need to be perfect to start. Just go with it and the rest will follow.
I think that's part of mindset though, isn't it? I think that sort of, what if nobody buys it? What if I change it and nobody buys it? And I think working on our mindset, like, it might seem quite easy for us to say, just do it, just go for it. But actually, we're doing that from a place of, we've been doing this for a few years now, and we feel that confidence. Whereas when you first start out, like my money mindset or just general mindset of putting myself out there on social media, has changed beyond belief. Like, I didn't have a Facebook account. I didn't have Instagram. I didn't want anyone to find me on social media. I wanted to keep my private life separate from work. And now I'm like putting selfies of myself without makeup or without brushing my hair, or like
In my
wearing the same top
pajamas.
in your pajamas. Exactly. And I was so worried about that wouldn't feel professional. What will people think of me? And I don't think the confidence comes and then you do it. I think the confidence comes because you've done it and nothing bad has happened. You know, nothing, that wasn't the end of the world. And
Yeah, because bad things do happen. That for me, like I genuinely will say there's things that have happened or that I've done, or there's like been things like with media where I've been doing visibility and journalists have asked, can we speak about this? Can we speak about this? And perhaps there's times when I've said things and I'm like, oh God, is that okay? And there's certain things that I've reflected on and I'm like, I'd do that differently, or I'd check this out first, or I'd ask this question before I jumped in. But you only learn from having those experiences. So it's not going to be like this beautiful, nothing ever goes wrong. It's never bad. It will be bad. There will be things that you absolutely think, oh my God, that was horrendous and I regret doing that. But also everything happens for a reason and it gets you where you need to be. Nothing is going to end the world. It's never going to be that bad. But there will be things where you question yourself.
And also, don't be fooled by social media. You'd be mad not to be on social media because it's a wonderful free resource. But do not be fooled by our shiny, glossy exteriors, where behind. But behind the scenes, we're all the same. Like I'd say, like 90% of the time, I'm posting my best bits on social media, and then 10% of the time, I'm feeling sorry for myself. So I'll put that ill photograph up or my messy kitchen up. But yeah, don't be fooled. It's not glamorous. It's not. We're not winning awards every day of the week. We're putting in the hard work. We're really grafting behind the scenes, and you are all grafters. All you lot working in school, you've done those 50, 60 hours weeks. You're not afraid of hard work, so you absolutely can do it. And I think starting a business is a bit like teaching that first lesson on your own. When you're a student teacher and then your mentor goes, right, over to you, and I'm like, oh my God. And it's just like that. You stand there thinking, oh my God, is this real? Like, am I doing it? Am I pretending at being a teacher? Am I qualified? Am I good enough? And do you know what? Eventually, like me, after 18 years of teaching, you walk into that classroom like as bold as brass, knowing that you can teach whatever you need to teach. And it's all great because you've got that experience behind you. Going from teacher or working in a school to business owner, you're going back to step one. But you know what? You'll get there. You'll get that first month's experience in. You'll tutor that first student. You'll do that first birthday party. You'll sell that first pack of cards. And eventually one pack of cards becomes 100, becomes 1,000. And all of a sudden, you're an expert in educational service products or whatever it is you're selling, and you'll get there eventually. So I think I want to leave you all with a little bit of homework. If you're still in the classroom or you're still thinking about starting your business, or you're just dipping your toe in a little bit, there's no pressure. Write down some ideas, and like we've said, it doesn't have to be one thing, it can be lots of things. And if your business is still an idea, go and tell somebody. It doesn't have to be your husband or your mum or your auntie. Just go and tell somebody and see what they say. Bonus points if they don't roll their eyes, but they might do. But so what? You've said it out loud. Saying it out loud makes it real. And the next thing you can go and do is, like we've said, find your people, join a group, go to a networking event, come and follow us on the Leave Teaching And page on Facebook, on Instagram. And you start to surround yourself with people who get it, who understand you. They're not the judging auntie who thinks you should be staying in your nice safe job. They're other business owners, they're other ex-educators who did leave the classroom and become successful. Have you guys got anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I think just that thing about community. I know, like we've touched on it in all, like most of the episodes that we've done so far, but like that network of people and those people that are going through the same process that you can ask those questions to, I think are invaluable. And if you haven't got those people near you because you don't know other business owners, or you're just not in that environment, or you know people but they haven't got the same mindset of you as you, or the same values, or you don't want to go down their path, I think you have to actively go and find them, go and hang out and find people that make you feel better about yourself, not the ones that you compare yourself to, that you think, well, I can never do that, they're so much better, they're doing it better than me, they're more successful. Remove yourself from that bit and go and find people that are on your side and your cheerleaders, and will be there for you when you do have the crappy days.
And also, you don't I feel like, because of what we did, we all started from scratch a business, but I also have a business that I bought into, which is my travel business. And actually, it's not that you do have to start from scratch. You could go and purchase a franchise like Carrie Ann has, or you can buy a business in a box, in something that you just enjoy. And then that comes with more support as well. So if you're thinking, I'd love to do that, but I don't have a clue, start something where that support is part of purchasing the business, and it doesn't have to cost thousands and thousands and thousands. You'll be able to do it for a lot cheaper than you absolutely will. So there's always options as well. If you're thinking, I want to do something, I don't know what, have a conversation with us, message us on Instagram. That's what we want to do. We want to help you.
Actually working for other people. So when I first started tutoring, I know we've talked about saying yes to every opportunity. So I always had like supply last resort, but I did work for agencies, and some of the tutors that work with me have their own businesses that they're growing alongside doing freelance tuition for my business, because you learn those things as you go, and you've got that income and you've got that sort of support whilst you're growing your own thing. So yeah, I think that's really important. There are 100 ways to do it. Find the way that works for you.
Yeah, and like you say, Lindsay, it's okay to do that. I know so many successful business owners who are still 2 days a week in school, 2.5 days a week in a supermarket. You've got to find what works for you, and it's really, really important that you don't cut off the food line. You've still got to pay the mortgage, you've still got to feed the kids, and that is first and foremost. So make sure you've got that money coming in, and then you can start dabbling with all the other things. And I think Ruth raises a really valid point. You could buy a franchise, you could buy into a network marketing opportunity. There's so many other different starting points, and you don't have to start from scratch. It doesn't have to be all singing, all dancing your business. There's lots of different ways to approach it. So I just want to say thank you very much for listening today. We are Carrie Ann, Lindsay and Ruth from Leave Teaching And. Come and give us a follow, pop us a message, come and see what we're up to. We love to hear from you guys, and we look forward to doing our next series as well. See you soon, guys.
You've been listening to the Leave Teaching And podcast with me, Ruth McQueen, Lindsay Peckety and Carrie Ann Booth. If you've enjoyed our conversation today, don't forget you can follow us on socials to hear about future episodes, events and ways to help you leave teaching and start your own business.